The punches weren't really necessary. Maybe
they were super necessary.
Hey y'all, it's High Tech, and today's super necessary video is going to be something that I have wanted to do for a while now. It's the kind of content that I really like to watch and consume, and it kind of falls in line with like a retrospective of, you know, any particular game, but instead of it being just a retrospective from, you know, the global audience viewpoint, it's going to be from my personal viewpoint. So it's going to stem from my memories with the game, my experience with it, you know, whether I owned it, whether I borrowed it, or it was a demo, how it made me feel, all that fun stuff. So I just want to give it a shot and see how it goes. I do not have a script because I feel like for this type of content that's coming from my memory, I would really like it to be as authentic and genuine as I can possibly make it. And so, you know, if I'm not reading off of something, then I'm just really pulling from how I feel and how I remember it. So today's super necessary game is going to be Turok, the Dinosaur Hunter on the Nintendo 64. Now, first thing I gotta say about this game is it is super badass. If you haven't played or heard of Turok, the Dinosaur Hunter, then you might just be, I don't know, either really, really young, or I am really, really old, or you're just not, you don't have enough swag on your swag meter. So, I'm going to give a brief background on Turok, you know, itself. It's not gonna be one of those videos where I'm going to explain the whole development cycle and all that stuff. I'll probably give a little bit of info on that just for, you know, just background for those who don't know. And then we're going to dive into like the really cool stuff. Okay. And then, in the background, I'll just have some gameplay footage, you know, just little snippets and little pictures and cute little, emojis and clip arts and all that fun stuff. So let's just see how this goes. All right. So, to start, Turok the Dinosaur Hunter was made by Iguana Entertainment, which is a team of developers. It was about 15 people or so. They were acquired by Acclaim, and in the early 90s, maybe even the late 80s, Acclaim was like big ballin'. They were making all sorts of banger games that you may or may not have heard of, such as Shadow Man, Extreme G, you know, the South Park games, and all those other super ballin' sports titles that we all love to play.
I'm gonna toss you out on your ass, you sorry piece of
You're some stone cold ass!
And so that was just back in the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis days. But then obviously as, you know, technology improves and, you know, we're moving to the next generation of gaming, you know, things are going into the 3D realm. And so Acclaim, they acquired the Turok comics, the comic series, and I think it was under, I want to say Valiant Comics or something like that. And so, you know, they spent a lot of money, they balled out, but because Acclaim was not making as much money as they were before, you know, due to everyone, all the developers moving on to 3D and making 3D games, Acclaim was kind of left behind. And so they needed to make something, you know, for the new generation, for the 3D, the 3D era. And so, you know, they have Turok, and so they figured like, hey, we're gonna try and you know, we're gonna try and get back, you know, up away from the brink, pretty much, and we got to create a game that's just gonna get some, you know, get some money in. And so they were hoping that Turok was gonna be that game, and I would say that Turok was indeed that game. And so pretty much the main premise of Turok, the Dinosaur Hunter, is it is a comic, you know, series. So it follows a character who has the title or the mantle of Turok. Turok is not the name of a person. It's the, you know, it's like the title. You know, you have you have a title, and they're a warrior that is set to defend the Lost Lands, which is like this big, mishmash of. It's a world where everything is just kind of like blending together. So you have a lot of like prehistoric creatures mixed with like, humans, and then you have like aliens mixed up in there, and all these random bugs and dudes and Hummers and really expensive like down payments and stuff like that. I don't know, dude. I don't know. But so his job is to defend the Lost Lands from a guy named the Campaigner. And I don't know if he's like running for president or something like that, but he's very aggressive with his propaganda. And that's pretty much it. Like that's the first game. And so like when you start the game, it just says, hey, collect keys to get to the next level, and then you're thrown into the game, and then that's when you start. And it's a first-person game. It's a first-person shooter, which is actually it's the first first-person shooter that was made for the Nintendo 64. I believe, from what I researched, there were only 10 games on the N64 at the time when Turok came out, and so it was definitely the first time that we had seen a first-person game on the Nintendo 64. And because of that, the controls are really, really weird. They got some really, really strange platforming sections that are man, you just get so sweaty, and if you just misstep, then you get the funny little funky Gumby flopping animation when he falls down. So, what this game was pretty much known for, or what people talk about, looking back at it, is they talk about like, oh, it's the distance fog, and this is where distance fog came from. And that's because, when they made this game, they were pushing the technical capabilities of the N64 at the time. It's brand new, technology, and so they were just trying to figure things out, and distance fog was something that enabled them to get the graphics that they wanted on screen at the time and all that good stuff. And so, with that as the background for what the game is, then, you just get to the gameplay, and it is a really, really awesome first-person shooter. It's really similar to Doom in that it's just like you have your movement buttons, and then you have a jump button. You can't jump in Doom, but you have a jump button in this one for the platforming sections. And you just move extremely fast. There's a lot of collectible things out in the world, like, weapons and ammo and these little golden Dorito things that make cool noises. And so it throws you right into the game. You have a knife and a bow, and you just start going to town. Like, the dudes are just running at you all crazy, and they're just going stupid dummy dumb on you, and then you just slice them with the knife, or you hit them with that first arrow from your bow, and then like the dude goes flying, and he just like does a backflip, and there's blood squirting all over the place, and then you're just like, what the hell? And I remember when I first played this game, I couldn't believe like what I was playing. And I was about, how old was I when this game came out? This game came out, I want to say, in 1990. Was it 95 or 6? I'm not actually quite sure on the year, but it was sometime around that time when the N64 had just launched. And so I couldn't believe it. Like, it was just it was like, man, this game is really fast, and there's like blood, and then like a dinosaur comes out, and just the way the dinosaur moved and the way they looked, I'm like, holy crap, like I'm actually fighting like a 3D dinosaur. And then you kill the dinosaur, and it makes like crazy dinosaur sounds, and then it's just like and blood is just pouring all out of its mouth, and it's like worming and like squirming around, and you're just like, what? Whoa, like this game is like really kind of, for the time it was real. The way the characters moved and the way they animated, it was just so awesome. And there's so many different animations too. And then, you know, you keep going through the levels, and then like right off the rip, you find like a secret pistol that's hidden in the cave. You have to jump through the water, and then you go through the water, and everybody hates underwater stages, but everybody also knows that they have to make up for it with some banging ass underwater music, which this game definitely has an underwater track that I still think of when I am like swimming around in my kiddie pool. And so, you know, with the game having like secrets like that, you know, it's like, oh cool, you can, there's like secret paths you can travel to get, you know, items that you might find that you're supposed to get maybe later on, and then you can get them early if you just kind of explore. And you know, you just kind of play, and you go along, and you realize that like, man, this world is really big, and I definitely was just enjoying just the freedom I felt like I had, and you know, just interacting with all the dinosaurs, and then like watching the dinosaurs interact with the humans or like the other characters, like they could fight each other. Like that shit was just like so wild. I would constantly just run around and try to make all the enemies just fight each other and just make like a big old fuster cluck of enemies, and I would just watch them just go to town, right? And then whenever I felt like I just want to interrupt, I would just shoot like a tech arrow and just watch them like scream and fly away. It was so entertaining as a little kid. And you know, speaking of the tech arrow, that's the first time I had like experienced creativity. Like this game was groundbreaking for me, not just like all the other people that played it, but like it was definitely just something else. It wasn't just like, you know, regular weapons. Like they had some crazy, just out of this world like goonery of an armory like that Turok could use. And it starts off pretty normal enough. It's like, all right, you know, Native American guy has knife, he has bow and arrow, he gets a pistol, he gets a shotgun, and then he gets like a plasma rifle that just shoots without reloading, and it's kind of like the one from Doom. And you're like, what? This is kind of weird. And then all of a sudden you have like a rocket launcher that shoots 4 rockets, and then you have a chain gun, and then you get this thing called the alien weapon, which shoots like a beam, a green laser beam, kind of like the Piccolo's laser beam cannon, but then it explodes after like it hits him. And then you get like other weapons like the fusion cannon, which just fires this giant beautiful red glowing orb of chaos energy, and then it just fucking explodes the entire map. All the trees go flying, they get knocked down, you hear dudes just screaming in the background, and dinosaurs are just yelling, and just like it was just like insane. As a kid, it was just so wild and over the top, and it was great. Just the crazy weapons. And then you fight the bosses, which there's 3 bosses, and it's just they're simple enough. Like, you know, just guy in the Hummer, giant praying mantis, and the big T-Rex with the laser eye, which kind of scared me, by the way. The T-Rex with the laser eye, he was pretty scary. And then of course, like the campaigner is the main boss, and he was pretty scary too, because he was like a really mean bootleg like Shao Kahn, even though Shao Kahn's already mean anyways. A Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat, he would just run at you, and he's like grunting and making like sexual noises. Like you don't know if he's like, you know, if he's nutting because he's just like having fun, or if like you're hurting him, or like he is both. I don't know what's going on, but the bosses were pretty intense too, and you really feel the scale of the fight and the impact, and you know, the big explosions from your weapons, and you know, the boss is just tanking all the damage, and it's pretty intense. Not to mention like the sound effects that the bosses and the creatures and the enemies they make. It's pretty nice. And speaking of sound effects, the music is banging. I always like enjoyed the Turok music. It felt like really fitting. I like the kind of the tribal drum, like the jungle drums, the dun 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 dun. Like I love that shit. And it's just kind of like, I feel like every track for every stage is really fitting, and I always felt like oh yeah, like I'm immersed in this world of, you know, wherever the heck it is, this mishmash of different like biomes and, you know, eras and stuff like that, and it just kind of made sense, and it made you feel like a warrior, especially like with the frenetic pace of the game. You know, it's essentially like just, it was Doom. Like, it was just like a 3D Doom, but, you know, with dinosaurs and humans and aliens, and just kind of like every fantasy creature that would make like a little kid just like, you know, super duper happy. It was like in this game, you know what I'm saying? And I just thought this game was extremely groundbreaking. My uncle had this game. I didn't even have this game, so I remember when I had seen him play it, I just would watch him, and I would never get bored of watching him play. It was just such a fascinating game to me and a bunch of other people who played it, which, you know, when I would go to school and tell people about it, they had no idea what the hell I was talking about. And I'm like, dude, I just didn't know how to explain it other than just like, there's dinosaurs and you're fighting aliens, and then robots. There's like robots too, and I would totally go to school and just talk about this shit nonstop and draw pictures and all that stuff. I would even pretend like, because you know how like when you're a kid, everyone pretends like they're a Power Ranger or, you know, a ninja or some shit like that. You know, you're role playing or some dumb shit, right? I would pretend like every time I was in a corridor, like a long hallway, I would pretend that I was Talset doing the end of the game escape sequence right after you kill the campaigner. So, you know, at the end of the game, when you defeat the campaigner, you get, you know, you're on the elevator, then it pulls you back down into the, you know, his fortress, and then it just has a cutscene of Talset just running through that long ass hallway that you just you know, walked through, that had all the weapons in it. He's like running for his life, and that boy is just like sprinting, and the whole corridor behind him is exploding, and there's fire, and this fool is just like gunning it. And I used to pretend I was Talset, just like every time I was in the hallway, just fucking, you know, all the kids, you know, later on, you know, kids would Naruto run, but I was Talset, just running from the campaigner's fortress. And you know, he jumps out and lands in the big old pool of water, and then it just says the end. That's it. There's no lore, there's no like dialogue or cutscenes. The only dialogue in this game is just when Talset, you collect 100 of the Doritos, and then he says like, I am Turok. And then the other piece of dialogue is the first boss when he's hitting on you. Oh, but then, you know, the campaigner says a couple of things too. Like if he kills you, he does say something about like, I think the universe is mine or something like that.
The universe is mine!
Man, this game is like such a treat, and it's like one of my favorite games just of all time. I really feel like this game set the stage for future FPS games. You know, that, like, you know, of course GoldenEye is like the big, you know, the big number one, but I really feel like not enough respect is given. Well, maybe not even respect, but I feel like a lot of people just forget about how Turok paved the way for all the great games that everybody else, you know, lauds or is, you know, they love today. And there's a Night Dive. They did a remaster of this game, which I haven't played yet. I really just want to play that whole thing in its entirety and just see how my brain remembers it, because I haven't played the game, you know, in a long time, since I was like a little kid. So, you know, little kid brain versus, you know, what I'm seeing and feeling now, do they match up, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's just my experience with this game. If you have played this game, you are one of the few and awesome badass people in here that, you know, have gotten a chance to play some really cool games, and this is definitely one of them. So if you have any cool experiences or memories, then, you know, please leave a comment, leave it down there, let me read it, and, you know, share with me how this game makes you feel. if you've ever played it. If you're watching this and you never played it and you're interested in playing it because I was talking about it, then I definitely recommend playing the game, trying it out, and just have fun with it. It's a very nonsensical game through and through, and I can't get enough of it. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me, listening to me talk about my memories with this game here. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a snippet of some gameplay here. Maybe I'll have some gameplay in the background. I'm not sure yet. Like I said, this is kind of like a experimental video format for me. So we're gonna see how this goes. But yeah, if you enjoyed the content, you enjoyed watching the video, help me out. Help me fight this algorithm. Like the video, subscribe, and I want to make some more videos like this, just remembering the games that I grew up with and giving my experiences about with that game, because I find a lot of joy in sharing my my memories like that. So until next time, guys, this was a super necessary production. Hope you guys have a good one. Have a good day, you motherfucker. Also, I forgot to mention the whole intro. When this game starts off and it does the whole iguana thing, and you got the iguana there, that's like some legendary iconic shit. Like, he's just a big ass iguana. Like, it's an animated intro. Like, that really sets the stage for what you're about to get into. And then he just like gets the tomahawk thrown at him, and he's like, "Mommy!" He just runs away. That fool's an OG. And then, not to mention, when the game actually like starts off, before it puts you into the main title screen, the main menu, it just shows Talset in the back, shooting that bow, with the foreboding, the music in the background, the drums, and then it hits the O of the Turok logo, and then the dinosaur's like, "Mmm." Oh my god, fucking goated.